Auto Profit Maximizing, a primer. Anytime I deliver this particular presentation, the seats fill up quickly, and today was no exception. As I stood there watching auto repair shop owners file in, my mind took me back many years to where it all started, why I shifted my focus from selling equipment in auto repair shops to teaching them proven business know-how. It all started in Texas, when I was selling equipment to the automotive shops in the Houston market. In those days, you traveled from shop to shop, forming personal relationships with client and customer. I knew their names, and they knew mine. I knew their spouses' names, and we talked sports, books, hobbies. I didn't consider these visits a checkpoint or an order fulfilled. I was planting seeds and investing in their most valuable resources, the shop owners and their staffs. I still believe in that concept. Now, that's a warm, fuzzy idea, and yes, I do believe in it. But what role does investing in an authentic relationship play in maximizing your profit? Stay with me on this. There is a way. More cars, and more cars. As I mentioned, I spent many years working with auto repair shops all over the country, learning from them and assessing their needs, watching and noting what works and doesn't work. And they all wanted the same thing: more cars, more cars, more cars. This hasn't changed, in spite of all the technological advances and business models that have changed the way these businesses operate. But this is also why I was there today, watching the auditorium fill to capacity with auto shop owners waiting to hear the culmination of all that time I spent on the road, entitled, How to Add an Additional $4,000 per Week to Your Bank Account Without Spending One Additional Dime in Advertising. They still want and need more cars, more cars, more cars. In this respect, auto shop repair owners are no different from any other industry. Every business owner wants more and more business. Restaurants want more people eating food there. Hotels want more people in their rooms. It's the common denominator for just about any industry. I believe in the auto repair industry and devoted my entire career to it. I have discovered that in order to find true capacity in our auto repair businesses, we have to do a few basic things. For starters, we needed to know how to add an additional $4,000 per week to your bank account without spending one additional dime in advertising. It's a bold and lengthy title for a presentation, but it was designed to shift individual auto repair shops into overdrive. That is, speed up the process and get more cars into a shop in the shortest amount of time. You see, we've limited ourselves by what we've been doing in our businesses and the techniques we've used on the phone. So the methods I presented, and are now available here, are quite powerful, like a high-octane fuel for a business. They've been developed, fine-tuned, and proven to include the one painless concept that you can start implementing within minutes, the 10-10 or YES process, one simple 3-part formula for doubling or tripling your current customers, how to control the customer's buying mood, how to follow up with a customer so that nobody slips through the cracks. As we are looking into the future here, the future is now. Some of this will be illustrated through real-life client examples, while other information is just straightforward and matter-of-fact. Break out a highlighter, jot notes in the margins, whatever helps you commit this information to memory and implement this information into your business practices. Reframe your thinking. Larry was a shop owner in Arkansas who needed to reframe his thinking. He thought that no one would pay $55 an hour for labor. It was too pricey, because most of his customers came to him due to his price. That is a popular way of thinking, but it's simply not true. No matter what your price is, there's always somebody who has a lower price. If you're selling automotive repair service and you think you're getting paid for what you do, you have the wrong frame in your mind. And it's time to reframe your thinking, too. When you need medical care or legal advice, do you seek physicians and attorneys who know their stuff or have the best price? When we go to the doctor, we wait 15 minutes, spend less than 10 minutes with them, and get charged about $300. We pay for knowledge, not time. So as an auto shop owner, what are you paid for? Are you paid for what you do or what you know? And do you charge accordingly? As I worked with Larry to reframe his thinking, I asked him to consider how he views his customers. When a customer walked through the door, did he see somebody with dollar bills or $100 bills stapled to their head? Did he see a real person? Did he see a financial needy person? If you stop and think about it, there are some things your customers pay a lot of money for: housing, family, and transportation. Whether we rent, own, or lease, a home remains one of the largest investments we make. If we marry and have children, we provide for them. And a big part of that provision is transportation, for ourselves and our families. So when that customer comes through the door or through the phone, change your frame of reference. We're not really in the auto repair business. We're in the financial business, the transportation financial business. It's here that I needed to remind Larry that this is not in conflict with customer relationships. Quite the contrary. When you look at your customers from the perspective of being in the financial business, you are helping them with the finances in their respective lives by saving them money on their transportation needs. You provide a service that actually adds more money to their personal finances and safety. Larry asked, as many others have since, how? If they keep the car and drive the car for a longer period of time, they have more money to spend on their home and their family. And because you care, you are ensuring that their vehicle remains safe for the long haul. So, like Larry, I want you to reframe the way you think. Recipe for going broke. There's another side to this, however, and that's the recipe for going broke. Larry was primed for it. He was open from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., Monday through Friday. If a car broke down or needed service on Saturday or Sunday, his customers would go to a competitor or just have to bring it in on Monday. If someone requested Larry specifically work on their car, they were required to set an appointment. Larry figured, as the shop owner, he needed to limit the number of cars per day to control the chaos. Any of this sound familiar? Well, I'll level with you. That day is over. Limiting the time that customers can do business with you is now a recipe for going broke. The landscape of supply and demand has changed, even in the automotive repair business. We are a proponent of the 6 days a week, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. schedule. But I know some shops that are open 14, 15, even 16 hours a day, 5 days a week. And yes, some are open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The same rule applies for appointments, especially for those of you who work by appointment only or control your car counts. Those are more ingredients in the recipe for going broke. It's a very limiting factor to your business. Other ingredients in the recipe for going broke: low margins of profit, understaffing with technicians, reception, and service advisor staff, delaying the customer when they call. What you're telling your customer is simply this: you're too busy to be interested in their business. And if you're reading this, then the opposite is true. So how do we crack the code and bring profitability to your shop? This is a tough industry. We need to make money. We're reframing our thinking, beginning with how we see our customers. Now we need to dig a little deeper into how we treat them. The yes process. You got into this business with a dream, a vision of what your automotive repair shop would be, how it would operate, the money you would make, the freedom you would gain. All of these things were in your mind, and you had that picture drawn. So what is your story? Did you get where you wanted to be? Have you gotten the results? Do you have that freedom? Do you have all this money stacking up? Do you have happy customers? Do you have what you want? Those are the results I'm talking about. At what point then did you have that entrepreneurial seizure? So let's see if we can crack this code that will unleash the power of profitability with something I like to call the 10-10 or YES process. This can be implemented the moment you finish reading about it, but I will pull in a couple of examples for you to see where I'm headed. Recently, I took my truck to a shop here in town that I've done business with for quite a while. I needed a brake job, so I dropped off my truck early in the morning and waited. And waited. By 2 o'clock that afternoon, I hadn't heard from them, so I called. They told me, "Your truck has been ready for a long time, but we have elected not to do the brake job on it because your truck is not worth doing the brake job." They pushed the vehicle out and I went to pick it up, took it to another shop. They hadn't called me, didn't keep me informed of the situation, and finally, whammy, let me know my vehicle wasn't worth the investment. Let me give you another example, probably one you have experienced in your own life. You meet a friend for lunch and you notice the sign at the entrance of the restaurant that instructs you to wait to be seated. So you oblige. 3 minutes go by, then 4, then 5. How long do you stand there before you get a little agitated and your buying mood goes down? Maybe you turn around and leave. Or maybe you linger and your agitation grows. They finally seat you, but don't bring you water or menus, and they just ignore you for a few minutes. How are you feeling at this point? How's your buying mood? When the server arrives and asks how you're doing, what's going to be your answer? I'll admit I'm going to be grumbly. And if they follow up by asking if you'd like an appetizer or something to drink, you're probably going to say no, even if you really want to say yes. That's what I mean by controlling the buying mood. So we've ordered our food, and it seems like forever before it arrives. And when it does, you're likely to be critical. Maybe it's not quite warm enough or doesn't taste good. And maybe it's real, or maybe it's because you waited so long for it. So now the server asks, "How did you like the food?" You let them know. It was cold, wasn't tasty, etc. And the response you get is, "Well, would you like a dessert?" Well, of course the answer is no. Your buying mood shifted. So how does that translate to your shop and your profits? The same thing happens when your customers walk through that door or call on the telephone. When someone walks into your automotive repair shop, the minute they get to your counter, you shift into yes mode. The yes process. The minute you answer the phone, tell your customer, "Yes, bring your car down right now." Or, to borrow Larry's line, ask them, "Yes, is now a good time?" The cars will come in. You are wasting precious advertising dollars, whether it's direct mail, internet, or even a website, if you're going to say no when the customer calls. SOS, speed of service. Around here, we call that SOS, speed of service. The minute they hit the counter, you get the car in action, whether it's a broken car or a maintenance car. Grab the keys from the customer, get the car in motion, and get a technician on that vehicle. Pull any technician you have off a job that he's doing, because the most important customer is always the one standing right in front of you. The most important customer is the one you have on the telephone when you're inviting them in with the yes process. 10, 10, 10. Buying mood is critical in moving your sales needle to that $4,000 extra per week. Remember the shop that, after I contacted them, told me my truck wasn't worth the brake job? They had made a series of decisions. They didn't practice SOS. They decided not to call me, and by doing so, they decided it was perfectly okay for their customer, me, to chase down information. So guess what buying mood I was in? Same thing in my restaurant example. A customer will likely have determined whether they are buying dessert within moments of entering the restaurant, whether it's a conscious decision or not. This is what I call the 10-10-10. Take out a sheet of paper and draw a triangle. Write yes at the very top of the triangle. In the lower left corner, write SOS. On the right side, write 10-10-10. Now, the number one service need for car owners is an oil change. That may be performed only a few times each year and takes approximately 10 minutes from the time the car hits the bay. With SOS, you actually have 10 minutes from the time the customer hits your counter. You take the key, you give it to the technician, and you have 10 minutes to get the customer involved in an additional one-thing service that may be required beyond the oil change service. That's the 10-10-10. That's the yes. That's the SOS. All applied in a matter of seconds. If you implement these processes in your businesses and in your thinking, you will crack the code. You will bring more cars into your shop, and that really is what we want to focus in on every single day. More cars, more people at your shop level. If you have a $300 ticket average, it's just a numbers game to get where you want to go. So what finally happened with Larry, the shop owner in Arkansas? At the time, he was averaging $80,000 to $90,000 a month. He was not saying yes. He was not doing speed of service. He limited staff, and he was not open on Saturdays. Then he reframed his thinking. He began to say yes. He started running speed of service, staffing his technician staff, started opening on Saturdays. He's running the 10-10-10 program. He's doing direct mail. It didn't change overnight, but it did start to change immediately. One recent quarter, his figures looked like this: $147,000 in 20 days, $160,000 the following month, $187,000 and counting the current month. This plan works. Larry is living proof of that. Takeaway. How do you get your staff on board with this new plan of action? Go to a hardware store and buy a 12-inch of yellow chain for each staff member so they can have a live example of the oil change chain. At your next staff training session, remind them that cars today are being built better than they've ever been built before. They require less service, and they break down less often. Using the chain, point out that one link is an oil change performed by one of your technicians. Call them by name in the session. Another link is an oil change performed by another technician, and another. 3 oil changes for the next year. Explain that eventually this same customer needs brake service, air condition repairs, alignments, tires, flushes, or a host of other service. If the shop never breaks any of the links, regardless of which technician performed them, they're going to buy the brake service or other services from your shop because they are clearly satisfied with the service they are receiving. Should any of those links break and they miss that service because you're closed on Saturday, or you're not saying yes, you're not running SOS, and you're not doing the 10-10-10 process, you're going to miss that opportunity. Explain that if we, not just them or you, have been thinking, well, that customer only buys oil changes, then the problem isn't the customer. Explain that we, as a team, need to work together to take every opportunity to get these customers to come back, from the front counter to the SOS to the 10-10-10. Each link in the chain has an opportunity to make that happen. And if that chain's ever broken, a customer isn't greeted immediately, or their car breaks down on a weekend and you're not available, the opportunity is missed. You never want to break that chain link with any of your customers. They are a long-term investment. That's why we say yes. That's why we say SOS. And that's why we do 10-10-10. Leave the chain in a visible place. Display it on the front counter. Hang it on a wall. Wherever your staff will see it, as a reminder that you're all in this together. Gary's Golden Nuggets. Reframe your thinking to get paid for what you know, not what you do. Don't look for dollar bills. Look for that relationship opportunity. Use the yes process when the phone rings. If you limit your cars for the day, you just limited your opportunities for that day. Perform SOS to show instant activity as that customer walks through the door so that the buying mood stays positive. Put 10-10-10 into action. 10 minutes to let an oil change know what else you found in the vehicle or what other services they may be interested in. If you will execute the yes process, the SOS, and the 10-10-10, you will add sufficient volume to your business without spending one dime in advertising.